Hey guys, this is my top 15 favorite romance books. With Valentine's Day being last week, I thought I might as well come and talk about my favorite romance books. It's the month of love after all, right? This is more like a top 10 and 5 honorable mentions basically. There's 10 I super love and then 5 that I was like, I love these, but I am not in love with these as much as the top 10. So that's the only kind of order we're gonna be putting them in because I can't put in order the top 10 that I read. There's no way. I would not be able to do that. So these are the top 15 books that kind of make me fangirl and swoon and pine for the kind of relationship the characters have in the book, and they're just good. They're just good. So without further ado, let's get into it. So my first book is The Year We Hid Away by Sabrina Bowen. I love this book so much. I gave this easily a 5 stars. Bridger has my heart and soul. Let me just love Bridger. Love Bridger. So this is a college kind of hockey romance, but not really. I wouldn't call it a hockey romance because there's not enough hockey in there to be relevant. So this is the second book in the Ivy Year series. I love this one out of all of them. I've read almost all of them but one, and this is absolutely my favorite for sure. I don't know what it is about Bridger and Scarlett's story, but it just is really good. Bridger is one of the star athletes on the hockey team, one of the starters, would go around and definitely use his popularity to get girls and sleep around, but he has to kind of give that all away so he can start taking care of his 8-year-old little sister. So he has to quit hockey and he has to get a job, and he has to stop his whole party life and basically cut off all of his friends so that he can take care of his sister. She can't be with his mom anymore because it's just not safe for her, and so he's like, you know what, you're coming with me, we're going in the dorm rooms. And though that's great sentiment, he can't do that. That's not allowed. He has to hide away from everyone so he can keep that secret. And then Scarlett's brand new to the college, and it's her first year there. I think she's a freshman. She has her secrets of her own, but I don't want to get too much into it because hers is a little bit more not up front, and I want you to kind of figure out as you read it. But definitely recommend this. There's a little bit of spice. It's just, this book is just really good and I love it so much, and I definitely recommend it. I read it all on audiobook, and it's wild to see it in person and how tiny it is, because I was like, this has so much story that I just love, and I'm like, how is it so small? What do you mean? But yes, definitely recommend. So my second book is Roomies by Christina Lauren. Christina Lauren is one of my favorite romance authors. They're a duo writing group whose names are Christina and Lauren, and they just shove their names together, and I absolutely love it. So this was the second ever Christina Lauren book I ever read. It was one of the first rom-coms that I've read before. We follow a main character named Holland, and she has this kind of secret private crush. It's not secret to anyone around her, but it's secret to the person she's crushing on. He is a musician who plays in the subways of New York because they live in New York City, and she goes out of her way on her commute to work every day. She goes and goes to see if he's playing and just loves to go listen to him. It kind of sounds stalkerish, but I promise it's fine. It's not, it doesn't come off weird. She just has this innocent cute crush on him. She's never talked to him, never tried to speak to him at all. One day when she's down there though, she happens to have this run-in and encounter with him because let's just say fate decided to take things into their own hands, and a drunk guy's involved. And I don't want to say anything more than that because it's I want you to read it. As a thank you, she gets him an audition to her uncle's musical. He's this very up-and-coming musical director, and so he performs, and it's great, and they love him, and they're gonna give him the job. But then, big old reveal, he's an Irishman who technically should not be in the States. His student visa expired, and he is illegally in the States right now. The musical needs him, and I know that, and Holland's no, I need him to play because he's such a good musician and I want him to have this opportunity. So she comes up with this grand old plan and was like, do you want to marry me? And it's great. So these strangers get married, and it's just great. It's honestly, it's marriage convenience, but also a ton of forced proximity, and just them having to live together and get to know each other, but also having to be married. It's just great. I absolutely love this. I love Holland. Holden, that's probably their ship name. I love Holland and Calvin. They're just, this is so good, and it's written so well, and I love it. So our third book on this list is The Tourist Attraction by Sarah Morgenthaler. I think that's how you say her name. I'm really sorry if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly. I struggle with names. Anyways, so I loved this book too. This was, I think, actually, I read this before I read Roomies, and this was legitly my first ever rom-com, and I just absolutely loved it. I was like, wait, this is so much fun. Are you kidding me? Like, I love this a lot. So this is about a girl named Zoe and a man named Graham. And Zoe has like loved Alaska for years and she's always wanted to go there. And she's finally saved up enough money to have her dream trip to Alaska. It's funny, on the back it says, going to Alaska isn't the top of Zoe's bucket list, it is the bucket list. Like, she just has dreamt about going to Alaska for years and has finally saved up enough money that she can go for 2 weeks. Well, now we enter our hero. Graham is the owner of a diner that he originally as a joke named the Tourist Trap, when it accidentally turned into his name. Tourists from all around come like get his like food and get like his very selective like menu and like try all the things. It's kind of like this bucket list that you need to do if you go to Alaska. I think if I remember correctly, she's like, her friend lives there, so she's kind of visiting her friend, and like that's a way that she was able to afford it, was coming and visiting her friend. And they decide to go to the Tourist Trap, and Zoe gets really drunk. Like, she has this thing called a growly bear, and gets just absolutely wasted, and who has to take care of her? Graham. So it's just her spending her time 2 weeks in Alaska and having this kind of attraction towards Graham, and Graham keeps popping up and is like in the picture. It's a small town in Alaska, so there's only so many people. And this is the first book in, I think it's called the Moose Springs series. That's where they live, is the Moose Springs. It's absolutely my favorite out of the series for sure, and it's just really good. And go read it. So I don't have the fourth book with me, but it is One Moment Please by Emily Dawes. I love this book, and it has one of my favorite tropes in it. This trope does have to be done correctly for me to enjoy it, but I think I like them more than other people do, because I'm just like, ooh, yes, love the drama that this adds. Anyways, this is a surprise baby trope. So we have our main character, Lindsay, and thanks to a one-night stand, she ends up getting pregnant. But what the best part of it all is, who ends up telling her she's pregnant is an EI doctor who just happens to be the father. I love this book so much. It took me so long to read this book. I read it recently. I read it at the very end of 2023, and it's because it's the third book in a series, and I was like, I don't want to read the first two books. Like, every single time like this came up, I was like, I just want to read this book. So I was like, you know what? They are standalone romance like series, so it was like fine. But I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna read it. And I'm so glad I did, because this is one of my new favorite romance novels. Like, I flew through this so fast. It's just good. We have, like, she calls him Dr. Dick, and we love it. So we have Dr. Dick, who, like, it was just like kind of this hot, like, kind of hating one-night stand thing, and it was delicious. Now they have a baby together, and Dr. Dick is like, you know what, I'm not a shitty person, and I'm not gonna be a deadbeat dad, so I guess I'll like financially support you and like be there and like be in my kid's life, but like I'm so emotionally unavailable that that's not happening. So, but it's a romance book. So eventually, it's just, ooh, it's good. It's great. I love this. And this is done in such a good way too. Like, it's upfront that it's a surprise baby trope. Like, it's just, that's what the book is, and I love it. Absolutely love it. So definitely go read it if that is your thing. So the fifth book on my list is The Bromance Book Club by Lisa K. Adams. This is so good. So I was not expecting to like this as much as I did. The premise sounded really cool, and I was like, okay, let's get into it. And I'm like, oh wait, love this. Read the complete series. I wish there was more. So we have Gavin, a star baseball player. Him and his wife's marriage is just like in shambles right now. She wants to get a divorce, and he's like, wait, no, I love you. I don't want to divorce you. Can we like please fix this? And they have two lovely children together, and so they're like, he's like, can we please fix this? And she's like, nah, fuck you. And so now he's like just distraught. But his buddies drag him to this hangout one day, and they were like, we're going to introduce you to a very secret thing we've been doing, and it's the Bromance Book Club, basically. And you're gonna read a romance novel to learn how a woman's brain works so you can win her back. It's fucking beautiful, okay? These like alpha males, star athletes, CEOs, and these just like big men in society just have this like very secret romance book club so that they can be better men to their wives and loves, and just like better lovers, so that they just want to be better. And they're like, you're gonna learn by reading this 1800 historical romance novel, and you're gonna win your wife back. And it's just, it's beautiful. I think like I just recommend this series as a whole, like not even just this book. Every book follows a different person in the romance book club, and it's just, it's good. It's good. absolutely recommend. So our 6th book is No Words by Meg Cabot. And I love this book a lot. This book is really fun. So this is the 3rd book in a standalone romance series. It's called the Little Bridge Island series. And though I love the first 2 books, this one's definitely my favorite out of it. So this follows a very popular children's author who is invited to like this book festival in this very small island in this very small town. It's an offer that she can't refuse. So she's like, you know what, let's go have fun, let's go meet some kids. And like sign some books, and it's a good time. Well, she gets there and she realizes she made a mistake because her author rival, happened to be also invited to this conference, and now she hates her life because she's stuck in this small town, in this small island, in this even smaller book festival with this man. Well, Mr. Rival Dude, Mr. Hero of the story, actually is very remorsive of his past actions and the reason why they're rivals in the first place. And so it's just kind of them, like, her like, no, you're being so fake right now, like you don't actually mean this, and like him actually being like genuine about his feelings and feeling sorry about how he acted, and it's them figuring out what went wrong in their communication and their it's not even really a relationship, just their co-working space, because they're both writers. So it's so good. So our 7th book on this list is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I'm actually like surprised at myself that I've never read another Ali Hazelwood book because I absolutely love this book, guys. Like this book is so good. So I definitely need to read more, and I need to get out off my ass and like read more of her books. Basically, this book, if you don't know, because this is a very popular book, like especially like on TikTok and stuff, is about our main character named Ollie, and she's part of like the STEM program. She's in the next stages of college, I think. She studies science and is like this big science lady. I don't know very much about this world. It's described as like dummy proofed really well. So I figured out when I was reading it, but I like don't remember enough to like explain it, that basically that's not the main point of the story. So Ollie's love life, not great. Kind of embarrassed about it, she's not gonna lie. And so she was like, you know what, I totally went on a date to her like friends, and they're like, you did. And so now she's like got herself in this big hole, and it's like, crap, yeah, I'm totally meeting my boyfriend. And she just kisses a random stranger that just happens to come down the hall, and lo and behold, it's one of the young hot professors who also happens to be kind of a hard ass. So it's great because she's like, oh my god, I just kissed this really kind of cute professor who's also known to be a douchebag, and I also just told my best friend that he's my boyfriend. So kind of an issue, right? So she goes and talks to him and was like, hey bro, so can we like pretend? And he's like, yeah, sure, I kind of need a fake girlfriend. So fake dating, awesome. Honestly love fake dating because it's so good, because it's like, hey, we don't really like each other and we don't know if any of this is pretend, but wait, actually I kind of like you now, and oh no, it's just a fucking good time. I absolutely love it. So our 8th book on this list is also very popular, and it's The Deal by Elle Kennedy. I literally finished this like a month ago. Like this, so good. Garrett Graham, bro. Okay. Sorry, need to calm down a little bit. I love him, and he's like so fresh that I'm just like, oh my god, Garrett. Like I want to go read the book immediately right now, because I like zoomed through because I was like, this is so good, and I'm like, wait, now it's over. What? Anyways, first, before we get into it, I wanted to let you know that it does have a trigger warning, or it should have a trigger warning. This deals with rape and sexual assault, and I'm actually surprised that I didn't know anything about it until I read the book and it was like on the first page, and I was like, okay. Luckily, like it didn't like trigger me too much, but like if that does trigger you, keep it in mind, because it's a very big deal in the story, because she's trying to like overcome that situation that happened to her, and so it's kind of heart-wrenching a little bit, and it's like, oh shit, like, you know. So it's still very like a lighthearted book, but it also has those darker moments into it. But so Hannah finally has like a crush on someone. She's finally like attracted to someone and is like, oh, what is going on? Like, I'm loving this. And he is the star person on the football team, and he's like, this like guy will never like notice me, like what the heck. Then we enter Garrett Graham, love you, and he's kind of a douchebag, a little bit of a douchebag, and he is the captain of the hockey team, and he notices, so they have like this really, really hard class together, right? It's like hard, like even like her, a really, really smart student, was scared that she was gonna fail, because like the teacher is so hard that it's like ridiculous. He obviously, like half the class, he failed his midterm, and he's like, I cannot fail this, I'm gonna get kicked off the hockey team. So then when he sees that she got an A- on, I think it's an A-, it's like an A on her exam, he's like, you need to tutor me, like right now. Like I need to be tutored. And she's like, actually, no thank you. I don't want to do that. Bye. And he's like, so now it's Gerrit Graham's mission to have Hannah tutor him. So now he's just like, bro, like I'll do anything. Like you can go on a date with me. And she's like, damn, you're full of yourself. I don't want to go on a date with you. And he's like, you never know. Like it could give you popularity. And in the end, that is the reason why Hannah agrees to go to like study him, because she's trying to get football player man's attention, right? Well, what better way to making him jealous with one of like the most like biggest people man on campus, Gerrit Graham. So it's like a fake dating situation as well, but it's not as like, ooh, they're boyfriend and girlfriend, but they're like going to parties together. They're like obviously coming together, and it's causing attraction to the football man, and it's just. It's so good. It's so good. With our 9th book, we have another Christina Lauren book with Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating. I think about this book all the time. I finished it like around the same time that I finished Roomies, but a little bit later, and it's just stuck with me, okay? And one of the biggest reasons is because the audiobook narrator is like a dual POV, and it just happens to be one of my favorite voice actors from my favorite anime of all time. I was like, what do you mean Todd Haberkorn is narrating a book? What do you mean? I immediately was like, library, hold now, please. Because I was like, wait a second. Well, he did so good. Loved him. And it's kind of like, because this book's kind of spicy. And so it's like, one of my favorite voice actors is reading me spicy scenes, and I like couldn't handle it. So this was just a good time with just the narrator himself. But then we get into the story, and it's so good. So this is basically about Hazel and like Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating, right? So they knew each other in college, okay? And she kind of made a big fool out of herself. She just became like a bumbling idiot and was like, he kind of cute, and I think she just got drunk a lot, and he just is like had like these really, you know, interesting experiences with her. Well, 10 years later, now they're like full grown adults and full like members of society, and like she's not crazy anymore. And well, she still is a little crazy. It's Hazel. And so she runs into him again at like this work party that he just happens to be there, right? And so they run into each other, and Josh just went through this really big breakup with his ex-girlfriend, and it was like this really big thing, like he was wanting to marry her, and it's like this whole thing. So like they just become like surprising best friends, but there's also kind of like this attraction towards each other, and so they just spend the whole book being like, we're not attracted to each other, we're best pals, we're good buddies. And it's a romance book, so no, they're not. Definitely recommend this one. So our 10th book in this list, kind of like the last one of like the big main ones, is The American Roommate Experiment by Elena Armas. So, love this book so much. It's the follow-up book to the Spanish Love Deception. It's about her best friend now. So you can read this by itself, but it does have spoilers for the Spanish Love Deception. So if you want to read that one, maybe read that one first. But I was in the mood for these tropes, and so I read this one. I was like, again, for the trope, I was really in the mood to read like a roommate kind of forced proximity thing, because that's one of my favorite things about like a roommate book, is that just the forced proximity. You have to live together. It's so good. This is about Rosie, and she is staying on, this part of the video might have some spoilers for the Spanish Love Deception, so skip ahead if you don't want to be spoiled. I just realized that. Rosie, while her best friend is on her honeymoon, she has this major thing happen to her apartment. So she's like, I'm just gonna go hang out at my best friend's house while she's gone, right? Well, unknowingly to her, Lena, her best friend, also promised her cousin, Lucas, the apartment. So the opening scene in this book is so good. It's so good, okay? Like the way that like she thinks someone's breaking into the apartment, and he's like, what the fuck's going on? And it's just absolutely beautiful. So basically, they're like, fuck, you have nowhere to go and I have nowhere to go, and we kind of just, I need somewhere to go and you need somewhere to go. So what about this? While I'm in town and while you are waiting for your apartment to be fixed, let's just share the apartment. And Lena has no idea about any of this. And like the biggest thing is that Rosie has a secret super surprise crush on Lucas. So imagine going and staying at your best friend's house because they're on their honeymoon and you're like having a crisis with your own apartment, and lo and behold, a man you've only ever seen on pictures and like know about from Lena happens to show up on your front door. It's beautiful. It's great. So now she has to share a living space with him, and it's and it's really good. I love it. It's like just like this kind of loft apartment, so there's not really like a closed bedroom. It's just chef's kiss, honestly. It's so good. And I do like this one better than the Spanish Love Deception. Though the Spanish Love Deception is good, this one just, Lucas, absolutely love it. Definitely recommend. So next are my 5 like honorable mentions. I don't consider them part of my top 10 because like they were good books. I really liked them. Like the romance was really cute in them, but I didn't like kick my feet in them very much. I didn't like swoon super hard, but I liked it enough and I liked the romance enough. Does that make sense? So our first one is Shipped by Angie Hockman. This one's really fun. So this book on the back, it says that it's kind of like The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren meets The Hating Game. Well, I haven't read The Unhoneymooners, so I can't say for sure, but it definitely reminds me of The Hating Game. It's about Henley, and she has to go on this cruise because she's trying to like prove to her job that she can get like this promotion that's happening. Well, guess who also happens to be on this cruise? Graham, another Graham. He's also trying to fight for the position of marketing manager as well. So they're trying to go on this cruise, kind of trying to like, you know, see how they could market it, and then they have to like present like this how they would handle this marketing situation to their manager, and whoever does the best gets the job. Well, they hate each other. Absolute rivals, don't get along. Or at least she doesn't get along with him. And it's kind of one of those situations. They just have to kind of spend this like Caribbean cruise together, like this tropical area cruise together, and it's just a good time. It's a good time, and I really liked it. I remember thinking it was really cute. I don't remember very much of it, but I remember like liking the romance when I read it. So next in our honorable mentions is Nanny for the Neighbors. So this was one of my very first like why choose relationships, and I love it. So I read another book by this author with the kind of why choose theme as well, and I really liked it, but I like this one even more. And why I think I love it even more is the guys, but also there's a baby involved, and I just love that. So this is about Beth, and she lives in this apartment complex, and she's unemployed, and she's like desperately trying to find a job, right? And she is just like, you know, she's like certified as a nanny and like has all of her training and stuff, and she's like very good, but like not a lot of people are in the need for a nanny. Well, this bachelor pad apartment gets a surprise visit one day in the terms of a car seat and a baby inside the car seat with a note being like, congratulations, y'all are dads. And they're like, what? They're just like these single men who have no idea what they're doing. So they're like panicking, and one of them sees a flyer for her nannying gig, and like they come to her apartment and they're like, please help us. Please help us. We're literally going crazy. We like this baby won't stop crying. And she's like, what is going on? Like, why is there a random baby in this like bachelor pad of just hot single men, right? It's just great because they're like, we don't know how to take care of this baby, but it's like now our responsibility. One of us is the dad, and like they know who the mom is, but the issue is they've all had sex with her, so they don't know which one is the dad. And so they like get in contact with her, and they're like trying to figure out get the testing done to see who the dad is, but they still need to take care of this baby. So they hire the nanny, but then she's like, wait, they're all kind of cute, and it turns good, and then like it kind of turns steamy, but then it's also like they have to take care of this baby, so that it's a good time. So the next book in our honorable mentions today is Flawless by Elise Silver. So I liked this book a lot, but I wasn't absolutely in love with this book. So this is about a bull rider who is just very good at his job, but also has like this playboy reputation, who's also getting into a lot of trouble, and his sponsors don't really like that. I think he punches a guy in the face, and they're like, don't love that actually. You need to chill out, or we're not going to sponsor you anymore. And he's like, his agent's like, he's like, you know what, you're gonna get a babysitter, and my daughter Summer, you're gonna go babysit him and make sure he stays in line and like doesn't do anything stupid, and you're not gonna leave his side ever. And she's like, excuse me, like what? And then he's also like, you can't lay your hands on my daughter either, like no romance, none of this. It's good, but there was something about the romance that just like kind of fell short for me. It was still good, and I still enjoyed it a lot. I read it right after the rodeo, so I was like very fresh and prepared in the cowboy bull riding idea. It was really fun, but I want to keep reading the series because so many people love the Crescent Spring series, and I want to see if the other books do it for me. But I wanted to mention this because I did enjoy it. So our second to last book in our honorable mentions is Cowboy Brave by Carolyn Brown. This is the third book in the Longhorn Longhorn Canyon series. It's like a cowboy one as well. I've heard that like cowboy romances are supposed to be spicy, and I was like, okay. This series is actually very tame, and I was actually really surprised about it. It's still really cute. I still love like the rancher kind of farmer aspect because the other one was a bull rider, and I really did like that a lot in these. So this one is about Justin. So it's the third brother to get with someone before they kind of change to other people. But so there's like 3 main boys in the house, and each book follows them falling in love with someone, right? I love the romance, I think, in all 3 of these books, but this one is about Emily Baker, and she works in a senior living home, and she needs something, like I think she's the activity coordinator, and she's like, I need something for these like guys to do. They're like, she really loves them. They're like these group of 7 that she just is like, we need an activity for you and stuff. And so she contacts the Longhorn Canyon, was like, hey, can we come spend here for a week? Because it's like kind of known that the Longhorn Canyon like takes kids in for the summer, and so they're like, hey, can we do that with, you know, kind of like the older folks? And they're like, yeah, sure, we've never done this before, this would be fun. So her and Justin just have moments, and it's really cute and it's really good. But I think that the thing that like got to me the best in this book is that she's plus size, and it is like basically the same size as I am. And so to hear like I didn't go into this book at all expecting her to be plus size. Whenever I go into like a romance like this, or like romance rom-coms in general, I always expect the main character to be, you know, like slim and skinny and just like a very, you know, universally attractive. So to have like this hot cowboy man fall in love with a plus size girl and like defend like her, and like it's just really good because she is insecure about it, and he just like doesn't give a shit that she's plus size. It's just, it did something to my soul a little bit, and it kind of affected me. And this is like the only plus size representation book that I've like genuinely really enjoyed. It wasn't a main plot of the story. Like, she's plus size, okay, there's not a big deal about it, you know, like it's not even included at all in like the description or anything, and that's why it was like, whoa, I love this. It was handled really well, and there was issues, you know, like with his mom not fully loving it, and I was like, ma'am? It does have a happy ending, and it's just really good, and it hits the soul a little bit, and that's why I have to put it on this list, because though the romance in a general, and especially in the series as a whole, didn't hit me the hardest, the way the plus size representation is done in this book, it just gets me, okay? And our last book on the honorable mentions, and our last book on this video in general, is Beach Read by Emily Henry. So I've been very excited to read an Emily Henry book. I you know, hear about her all the time on TikTok and like YouTube and all this kind of stuff, and I was like, I want to read one. I loved this book. I love this book a lot, but it wasn't my absolute favorite either. So this book is about January and Augustus, and they are literary rivals, so they're authors again. And I just realized this is the second book with this kind of idea in this video so far, and I love it. Honestly, I did not realize I liked this trope so much. So this is about January. You know, she's kind of going through a life crisis, a family crisis going on right now, and she ends up in a beach house that her dad used to own. One night, like her first night there, her neighbor is having like this really big party, and she's like, what the hell, dude? I'm trying to sleep, and like marches over there and learns it's Augustus, her literary rival, like her complete polar opposite, right? So she writes these like very happy, fluffy, cute, swoony romance novels with happy endings, and he writes literary fiction where everyone dies and just like not great stuff happens, and it's very angsty, right? They're just like complete opposites, and they don't like each other, and it's very interesting now because they are neighbors for the next 3 months, and in like kind of this beach town during the summer, and so it's a good time, and they just, you know, she'll go on her porch and he'll be on his porch, and it's not great. But basically, after some stuff happened in the book, they strike a deal, and she bets him that he can't write this really cute romance novel, and he bets her that she can't write anything serious. And so therefore the bet is made, and they go on the summer to try and write what the other person usually writes. And it's really great because she's like in a book slump and he's also in a book slump, and so it's just really good for their kind of creative liberty to kind of just write something they've never written before, and then along the way kind of fall in love. So it's a good time. It's a good time, and I definitely recommend this one. I can't wait to read more Emily Henry books to see if there's other books that I would like more, but I heard this is kind of like the best one to get into to start with her. So that's it. Those are my top 15 romance books that I've ever read. I've only been reading for about 3 years, so I haven't read like a super ton, and I know I've kind of read some big flops in romance. But this list was super fun to put together, and it was really cool to see like what my favorite were, and I was like, oh, I have to talk about this book, you know, and it was a really good time, and I enjoyed it, and I was like, it's so perfect for the month of love, right, to talk about love. So I hope that if there are some books on here that you haven't read before, I hope that I got some new, you know, more books on your TBR and new recommendations. Also, but if you've read any of the books on this list that I mentioned, I would love to hear your comments and your thoughts down below. But yeah, with that being said, you guys have a wonderful day, and I'm so excited to see you guys in the next video.